Oh, cool. I'm live. Excellent. I was very confused. Hello, everyone. Welcome. My name is Joe, and I'm very excited to be here with y'all today. I'm here from Twilio, who are sponsoring Local Hack Day. I opened the stream and it was loud. Who are sponsoring Local Hack Day, and we are sponsoring because everything y'all do at hackathons is really fun and inspiring to us. We've been sponsoring the MLH season and the hackathons there, and there's already been a wild number of hacks that have been super exciting, and so we wanted to come hang out with the folks during Local Hack Day, learn and help you along your journey to learning more about hacking and learning more about software development. So today I am going to be doing a little bit of a Twilio demo for you. Despite being at Twilio for maybe coming on 8 months now, this is the first time I've done the Twilio demo because I've mostly worked on Twilio Quest. It's going to be fun. We're going to have a learning experience together. It's going to be wonderful. But before doing that, let me tell you a little bit about Twilio in general and what we do, what we're here to do, and how we can be useful to your hacking. Let me just move over to a screen share. Boop. Hopefully you can now see my screen. Is that correct? Can people see my screen? Give me some words in chat. I'm also going to put on some nice soothing music. So many folks in the chat. Hey Akshu, thanks for playing Twilio Quest. We'll talk a little bit about Twilio Quest, which is going to be a wonderful resource for you this weekend. Everyone can hear, everyone can see. That's great. Perfect. So, what is Twilio? Let's talk about Twilio. Let's go over to the developers page because we are developers and that is what we're here to do today. So, Twilio is a communications platform. What does that mean? It means it's a one-stop shop for you to get everything you need to integrate communications into your applications or websites. What do I mean by communications? I mean SMS, phone calls, WhatsApp, video, email, pretty much any way that you could want to communicate with people using your application or with people who are part of your community or anything like that is available to you through Twilio. And it's all a series of REST APIs. Anyone in the chat know what it sounds a little bit loud, sorry. Whoop. There you go. That better? I hope it's better. Anyone in the chat know what REST APIs are? Anyone want to drop in? Let us know what a REST API is. It is the one of the daily challenges, I believe, is to understand what an API is. So here's your proof of the pudding. VJ, I can now whistle. I'm not going to try and do it now. That'd be a disaster. But I have learned to whistle. I achieved it. I managed to learn to whistle before I was 30. My life is complete. So, Twilio is a bunch of REST APIs. REST APIs are one of the many forms of APIs, application program interface, but in particular, REST APIs are a really popular way of communicating with web services. They use the standard HTTP verbs, HTTP being the hypertext transfer protocol. So when you communicate with a website, your browser or whichever client you're using sends a request to the web server, which will be one of the HTTP verbs. That'll be get, post. You've probably seen these things around. So it'll be a HTTP get request if you're just getting information, HTTP post if you're sending information, and that's all REST is. It's HTTP requests sent from a client to a server basically, and then getting some data back. And someone's in the chat said representational state transfer. That's where we deal with what's coming back. In what we're going to be doing today, we're going to be seeing a lot of JSON, which is JavaScript objects moving back and forth. This little diagram here gives you a little bit of an example of how that works in Twilio land. So this is for SMS, for text messages. When you send a text message from your phone to a Twilio number, Twilio then sends a webhook, that's a HTTP request, to your application. Your application gets that request and it knows what's happened. So in the case of an SMS, it says, hey, someone has texted Twilio. Here's who they are and here's that SMS. And then your application goes back to Twilio, and then Twilio then sends a text message back to your phone. So I'm going to take a little break there to read chat and see how we're doing. Couple of great questions. I'm going to answer questions as we go along. We've got a long time here for this workshop. We've got about an hour, so I'm gonna, be here to answer the questions because the demo I've got is not an hour long. So we'll get through a good jump of questions as we go. Is Twilio free to use on any project? That's a great question. Twilio is not free to use. It does cost money. For y'all during Local Hack Day and in any MLH Hackathon, we have a promo code for you that will give you a heap of free credit during the hackathon. I believe that promo code is floating about on the local Hackday website and the local Hackday Discord. I don't know whether I should post that promo code in the Twitch chat. I'm going to do it anyway. Hopefully I don't get in trouble. So I've just posted the link in the Twitch chat. That's the promo code, which will get you set up with a Twilio account with some credit for local Hackday Learn. So you will be able to play with Twilio this weekend. This week. The things that cost money are mainly based on usage. So, you'll buy a phone number that will cost $1, for example, and then every time you send or receive an SMS, that costs a little bit of money. So, someone says can't access it though. Can't access the code? You should be able to access the code. If you already have a Twilio account, that is a great question, Gia. We do have another promo code for you. I don't have it on me right now. I will get to the bottom of that code and I will make sure that's in the Discord channel after the call. So if you already have a Twilio account and you don't have free credit left from the last time you activated that account, keep an eye on the Ask Twilio channel in the local Hackday Discord, and I will post instructions to get free credit in there sometime after the workshop. So let's dive in. Today, this is a messaging workshop. We're going to be doing messaging. I hope you all have created a Twilio account. I believe there was some instructions on how to create a Twilio account. If you haven't created a Twilio account and you want to follow along this workshop, go ahead and use that code I sent in chat. I'll post it again. If you already have a Twilio account with some credit on it, you can follow along. We're going to be doing messaging. I'm going to be doing it in Node.js, so that's in JavaScript. If you want to follow along and you... Bayu, you are not late at all. We're just kicking off. If you want to follow along with this workshop, I would recommend, and you don't have Node.js installed, you never used Node.js before, I would recommend jumping on the Replit that I just posted. This is a minimal JavaScript web server built with Express that I've set up that we'll be starting from the workshop. I'll bring it up over here. If you haven't seen sorry, let me go to a tab that's actually logged in. If you haven't seen Replit before, Replit is like an online code editor and execution environment. So you can grab a copy of this code for yourself. Where can you do that? Let me open it in a new tab after all. You'll be able to grab a copy of this code yourself. Code. There we go. You can hit the fork button to grab it. I need to log in, but you can hit the fork button to grab a copy of this project. This project is set up with an example node project, so you can follow along as I go. That is where I'm going to be starting from in my own text editor. So we'll be able to start from the same place, and you'll be able to follow along with me. Let me just quickly pop this out. Pop out chat. Okay. I lost the previous chat by doing that, so I'm sorry if anyone asked a question that I missed. Feel free to re-ask that question. One question I did see is someone asked is Battlesnake a REST API? Yes, VJ, but Battlesnake is backwards. So in a normal REST API, the client makes requests to your server. Well, sorry, in a normal REST API that you would use as a hacker, you build the server. No, wait. You build the client and then you're interacting with the server. Battlesnake is kind of the other way around, where Battlesnake, the game, sends requests to your server. And so you build the API and you send the data back rather than you building the consumer of the API, if that makes sense. So Battlesnake is kind of weird. But that aside, let's jump into some Twilio. So, as said, I am going to be doing this. I actually think I might have broken chat by doing what I did. Let me give this a refresh. Sorry, I now can't see chat anymore. I see it over here. I can see it over here. Perfect. So, what I have on my screen is a minimal Node.js server. So, let me tidy this up and give this a zoom in for you. So, this is a really simple server. If you haven't seen Express before, it's what's called a routing framework. So, we have this app is, our app. It's an object that defines our app. And we are defining one endpoint on it. So, this is an endpoint that accepts the GET request, and it's just on the root of our domain. So, it's just when we go to, in this case, localhost 3000, we will give back hello world. So, to show you that, I'll start this up with nodemom. Okay, that's now listening on my local host, and I'll just come over here and give that a refresh, and you'll see I've got hello world. So really easy, minimal web server. We are going to be building onto this to add some endpoints that work with Twilio. And someone in the chat just asked, what do I plan to build with Twilio? Anub asked, how can I show again how I reached here? So if you are following along on Replit, you do not have to move to VS Code. I'm using VS Code, but I would recommend if you're following along with the Replit to just stay in the Replit. Replit has a text editor. This is totally fine. If you don't have your own Node.js environment set up, stick around on here. If you do have a Node.js environment set up on your machine, I will give you the code I'm using. You can just clone it from here. So if you have your own Node.js environment set up, I've just realized my screen's a really weird contrast. Sorry, folks. Let me quickly fix that brief technical issue because that's going to be really annoying. I'm going to go onto my desk for a moment. Bear with me. I have to unplug and replug something in to make the screen go a normal color. Okay. Let's have a look now. Let me find the screen share. Let's get that working. Okay. There we go. And now I can go back to that one. There we go. That's better colors, isn't it? Okay. So, a couple of great questions in chat. So first up, someone asked, is JavaScript a prerequisite for this class? Twilio is, there are libraries for Twilio in basically every language you could desire. If you come to the Twilio docs, you will see, for example, there's quick starts in PHP, in .NET, in Java, in Ruby, in Python. You can grab any language you want. I am a JavaScripter, so I'm going to be writing JavaScript with you today. Don't panic. The code we're going to write for Twilio is really the library for this is very well designed to make it, you know, really kind of language agnostic. There's not going to be, it's going to be, if you've used kind of any object-oriented language, it's going to be familiar to you. So don't panic. If you're not confident that you can type JavaScript or that you can write JavaScript, maybe just watch, but you will still be able to learn from this workshop. So do not worry about that at all. I've just dropped the links again, so those links just remind you before I go back to my code editor. If you have not used Node.js before and you want to try and follow along, that Replit link will give you a ready-to-go environment with Node.js ready to run. You can just click the fork button, create a Replit account, and then you can do everything in Replit. You don't have to download or install anything. It will do it all in Replit. If you have Node.js in your machine and you would like to follow along that way, you can clone from my GitHub repo. Okay. Now let's go to the code. All right, so really basic web framework. We've got one endpoint, and we've got the server up and running. So how do we actually go about adding Twilio? I've already added Twilio to the packages for this project. So if you clone my project, it's already there. If you are starting from scratch, it's really simple. You can just npm install Twilio. I would recommend adding save because then that will add it to your package.json. You just install Twilio this way. npm is the JavaScript package manager. If using another language, it will be in your package manager under a similar name. So once we've got Twilio, it's super easy to add it to our project. We just have to go to the top, and I'm just going to require it like so. There's a couple of steps we need to do once we've added Twilio. So first of all, I'm going to add something that's going to future-proof later. I'm not going to explain it a whole bunch now, but we're going to add a way for us to deal with something called Twiml, which we'll talk about in a bit. I'm going to copy this this path in the module because it's a long one. So this is creating a object for us called messaging response, which we will use to deal with messages we receive later. And I've imported Twilio. We need to do a couple of things to actually use Twilio. So with a lot of REST APIs, you will have credentials. These are ways, you know, kind of like a username and password with a login surface. You will have credentials that you will need to access your Twilio account. If you've created a Twilio account already using the promo code, you can go to your console, which is here. My account set is right on display there. So yeah, you can go to your console. And from your console, there's a couple of things that you'll be able to see. So first of all, you'll see I'm in negative balance, the joy of being a staff account. You'll see an account SID, and you'll see an auth token. These are basically your credentials to access your Twilio account from a client. They allow you to make requests to Twilio and to actually have those requests served by the API. Another thing that you will need is to create a phone number, and we'll talk about getting the phone numbers in a moment, but I'll just briefly show you the page. Sasox asked why --save when I do npm install Twilio. If you do --save Sasox, it will automatically add the dependency to your package.json. You don't have to go in and edit the package.json to add it yourself. So it's just a really quick and easy way to get it added in there. So with any Node.js dependency, when you install it, it'll be available in your system in the Node modules folder. But to use it in your project, you have to add it to the package.json to the dependency section. And --save just puts it in there automatically. So it's really just a shortcut. And we're big fans of shortcuts. We like to make things easier. So one of the other things we're going to need to do is buy a number. So with your Twilio account, we'll walk through this in a moment, we're going to be walking you through buying a number and getting all those things set up. I have got these 3 things set up for me in environment variables, so I'm going to stick them in here, and then we'll talk about each of them individually, and I'll walk you through where to go and get them in the Twilio account and how to add them in there and how to set the environment variable. But let me, for now, just quickly throw these in here. So there are 3 pieces of information we're going to need for our app. 2 of them are for the authentication. 1 of them is the phone number we'll be sending messages from. So I'm going to quickly throw in our account SID. And I'll explain how these work in a moment. And then we just get the environment variables in, and then we'll talk about environment variables. If you're familiar with environment variables, let me know in the chat. I don't want to explain stuff that you're all already familiar with. But if you're not familiar with them, totally fine. Let me know. I would love to tell you all about environment variables, because it's one of the things that I feel like really changes things and makes development better. Okay, so I've added in 3 variables here. These are the authentications for Twilio. So one is my account SID. This is your kind of ID for your Twilio account, your unique ID. One is the auth token. That's like your password for your Twilio account. And one is your Twilio phone number. I have set these as environment variables. So how that works is in a terminal, you can set in your terminal, in your environment, wherever you're running the app from. If you're using my Replit, don't panic. I will come and tell you how to do it on Replit in just a moment. But if you're on your local desktop environment and you're following with the terminal, from here, you can export any variable. So I could export a fun variable that's just like cool vars. We're going to talk about cool vars and just call it hi LHD. And that's an environment variable. I can now echo that in my terminal. And there we go, hi LHD. Within my JavaScript, I can refer to this variable. So process.env lets me get at, oh, there we go. That's a good way of showing it. Process.env lets me get at the variables in my system. So if I were, for example, to do console.log, and then I just defined, oh my God, these are aggressive tooltips. Ha! Okay. I just defined coolvar. So if I were to do this, and console.log that, and then run my app, you'll see that coolvar that I set, hi LHD, right? So to kind of summarize, an environment variable is a variable you set in the environment. So in this case, it's the terminal that I'm running my Node.js from that is available within your code. It's available through process.env. This gives you an array of all of the environment variables, and then this is the name of the variable. So we're going to set 3 variables. We're going to set our account SID, we're going to set Twilio auth, and then we're going to buy a number and set that. Let's start with the account SID. So what you're going to do is you're going to go to your Twilio account and you're going to go to console. Things have changed. I don't know where the console button is. There. You're going to go to console, and then on here you will see your account SID and your auth token. So you're going to click the copy button and grab the SID, and then you'll come to your console and you'll do export account SID, and then you paste it in there. Important thing to note, if you are not familiar with Bash, with defining variables in a terminal prompt, it is white space sensitive. Don't put a space between the equal sign and your variable name and your values. Just throw it straight in here. Okay, and then enter that, and make sure it's in the same terminal that you're running your code from. If you're on Replit, the process is slightly different. You are going to go to, let me bring up Replit. You are going to go to Replit, and on the left, you will see the secrets environment variables. And in here, you can define a key and a value. So in here, you can put account SID, and then you can add the value in here, and then add that as a new secret. And you'll see it gets added there as a variable. So in Replit, you've got this nice little way of doing it. In the terminal, you can do it in the terminal. So that's variable number 1. Variable number 2, you're going to go back to the terminal again. Sorry, back to the Twilio console, and you're going to click show on this, or actually you don't need to do that. Just copy the auth token, and then you're going to do the same thing where you're going to do export auth token, and then put your token in there. Cool. So that's our first 2 variables. I'll give people a moment to ask any questions about that. Does anyone have any questions about setting those variables, about where to get that information? Otherwise, I'll move on to the next one. So the next one we need is a Twilio number. What we're going to be doing today, and someone asked earlier, is what we can build with Twilio. We're just going to build a really simple little application that sends some messages. I'm actually kind of interested in what guilds you all are in. This is local hack day. I hear you're all in guilds. So, Zexel, sorry, I'll come back to that in a minute. So we're going to build a little app that you can text in your guild. It will check what the most popular guild is. It will send that back. And we'll just mess around with that a little bit. We'll see who's in what guilds. We'll send some messages with Twilio. We'll receive some messages with Twilio. We'll look through the data. Have a good little play around with that. Okay. So Twilio number. So we're gonna need a Twilio number in order to send our messages. As when we send messages to someone, we need a number for that to come from. We need their number in order to text them, but we also need a number that we are sending from. So we're going to have to buy a number on Twilio. And to do that, we go to the phone numbers menu, and we go to manage, and we go to buy a number. You don't have to post your guilds in chat. You'll be texting them to me in a bit. So under here, this is where you can buy a number, and you'll have a variety of countries and options. Obviously, you probably want to pick a number which is going to be more reasonably priced for you to text. So if you're from India, you can buy an Indian number. If you're in the United States, you can buy a United States number. The important thing to do and to note is that in these capabilities, you want to make sure that it has SMS, because today we're doing SMS. So make sure that you buy a number that has the SMS capability, okay? So I can buy the appropriate number. I want a number that you all can text. Can you give me some hints? Where is everyone from? What countries do we have representing today? Drop some countries in chat. Who do we have? Who is joining us? Canada, USA, India, Nepal. India. I have a feeling I'm not going to be able to buy an Indian phone number because I believe I would need to have an Indian address. Ooh, that's awkward. Okay, so it looks like we actually can't buy phone numbers in India because they're available upon request. So I'm going to do this in the United States. Sorry, I'm just going to look at how this works. Interesting. I was reasonably sure that phone numbers are available in India. Okay, so if you are buying a phone number from India, that might be a barrier to you following along with the tutorial. For now, if you've got the free Twilio credit, just buy a number in the US. It will, or buy a number in another region, because you've got the credit. You'll be able to pay. You'll be able to pay for it with the free credit. I will have a look why the Indian phone numbers aren't available and get back to you all in Discord. So I'm going to buy a Russia number, not Russia number, sorry, Russiaville. So I'm going to look for this number and I'm going to click buy and grab one from here. Find a number that you like. You can do all kinds of things like search for different numbers. So I can, like, for example, search for certain parts of numbers that I want. Like if I want a number with just 888 in it, we'll be able to find numbers with 888 and this kind of thing. You can search for toll free. You can search all kind of things. I'm just going to take any number that's available. So I'm just going to buy this one. And here you'll see that it'll cost $1 a month. That'll be covered by your Twilio credit. And then we get info on the capabilities, and I will agree, and I will buy this number. And while that's going through, great. So I've got this number. And now I'm going to have to set that as the remaining environment variable. So I'll scroll over this, grab that, come into here. Oh, not that, that's my Slack. Come into here, and just as we did before, I'm going to export this as a environment variable. Boop. Oh, that's going to need to be without the spaces. I've done this really terribly. Sorry. Now I've got now I'm fat thumbing it. Delete these. There we go. And now I've got my phone number in. So that is my phone number set. So hopefully you've all been able to get a number and sell it as an environment variable. If you haven't, or you've struggled because of the regional aspect, don't worry. Drop into the Ask Twilio channel later, and I will sort you all out if you have number issues. But for now, keep following along. So what next? So we have our number set up, we have our account SID set up, and we have our auth token set up. So we are now reasonably ready to start actually making requests to Twilio. There's just one final thing we need to do, which is to initialize the Twilio client. So this is part of the Twilio library that we imported earlier, and this basically wraps the API. So Twilio, as I said, is a REST API. That means it's interactable with just HTTP requests. You can just send requests to the Twilio server with certain headers and certain bodies. This client is a really nice and easy way for us to access the capabilities of Twilio through a interface which is going to be really friendly to use. Okay, a couple of people asking how to set environment variables in Windows and that the export command is not working. Nishant, what operating system and shell are you on? And Joel Nixon, are you in PowerShell or are you in Windows subsystem for Linux? If you are PowerShell, cool. Then that's a very good question. I am not a PowerShell user, but I'm sure if you Google environment variables PowerShell, we will find an answer. Let's do it together. Let's figure it out. Do. Well, that's deeply unpleasant, isn't it? So it looks like that's display them. That's displaying. How do we change? Okay, there you go. So I'll drop this in the chat. But it looks fairly straightforward. So you would just do env, you put the variable name here, and then you put the value right there. Giajar said, I'm using Replit. Is the secret key Twilio phone or Twilio number? The secret key, the auth token, is Twilio_auth. You can call these whatever you want, by the way. I've called them this, but you can call them whatever variable name works for you. So Gia, you're going to put your account SID from the console in account SID, your auth token in Twilio auth, and then the phone number that you bought, you'll put in Twilio phone. Okay. So this client gives us a way to really nicely access and interact with the Twilio API. It wraps it so that we don't have to write raw HTTP requests. We can just use a really nice and simple interface. So for example, I'm going to add a new endpoint to my application. So this will be an endpoint. Let's just put it on text because I want to send a text. And what this endpoint is going to do is we're going to make our first, we're going to send our first SMS with Twilio. And I'm just going to do this just to really show you how nice the library makes interaction with this API. So we've initialized this client, and with that client, I can just do client. And then you'll see here, I'm getting autocorrect for what's available. Actually, I'm not getting autocorrect, which is weird. I was getting autocorrect earlier. Anyway, so I'm going to do client.messages because we are using the programmatic SMS functionality where we're using SMS that's available on client.messages on the messages resource. And I'm going to create a new message. And then this is a config object to set up the message. So I'm going to leave that there for a moment. So just to reiterate, client is a wrapper around the Twilio API. It allows us to interact with the Twilio API, and one of the resources on that object is messages. This allows us to interact with messages through the REST API. So I'm going to create a new message, and then I set up that message, what I want the message to be, within this object. These squiggly brackets, if you're new to JavaScript, these squiggly brackets create an object. So in that object, I'm going to specify a couple of fields. I'm going to do body. That's the message that I want, the message body, you know, it's the contents of the message. So I'm going to say, hello local hack day. Then I'm going to do to, and this is where I want to send this is who we're going to send the message to. So we bought a phone number and we set up that phone number in Twilio phone. That's the number we're sending from. To is going to be a message you're sending. Please, at this point, do not message random numbers. Put your own number in there. I have been clever and put my phone number in an environment variable. You don't have to put it in an environment variable. You can just put your number straight in there. But as much as I think you're all wonderful, lovely people, I thought maybe I wouldn't expose my phone number to 154 people on a Twitch stream. So I put mine in a variable. You can do whatever works for you. So this is creating a message whose contents will be hello local hack day. It will be sent to my phone number, my Dutch phone number, and it will be from Twilio phone. Redashu, if you're just joining us, if you want to catch up, here is the starter code. That's okay. There is the starter code. If you have not done JavaScript before, I recommend using Replit instead. And that's the code that we're basing this project on. Okay. So that is a message. I could now run this code and go to that endpoint, and the message would be sent just fine. But there's a couple of other bits that I want to do, basically to get some error logging. So who has heard of async await? Who has heard of asynchronous programming? Drop me a message in chat if you're familiar with that term. Couple of people? Awesome. Cool. So for those of you who may be newer to it, we've got an application here running on our server, and we're going to go make a request to another server to do something. That other server might take a little while, so we want to make sure that we don't do anything we want to be doing before we get a response back from the server. So in JavaScript, we're going to use something called async await. So we can mark this function as asynchronous, and then we can put a wait on things to wait for them. In this case, actually, it's probably going to be simple for me to use a different syntax for this, which is then and finally. So I'm going to say then here, which is another way of doing it. And I'll explain this in a moment. One sec. Console.log. What do I want to do here? I'm going to put... My autocomplete is really in the way today. I'm going to do this. Sorry, I really struggle to talk and live code at the same time. So this there are two syntaxes for async await, well, for asynchronous programming in JavaScript. One of them is where I would say, hey, this is an asynchronous function, and I want to await this thing. And so what it would do is it won't run any code after this line until this line has finished running. What I am doing instead is using the then syntax, which is very intuitive, but it gets ugly when you nest, which basically says, hey, I'm going to do client messages create, and when create is finished, then do this. And so after it's finished, I'm then doing console.log send. So just to recap, this is what we've got so far. We've got our Twilio client, we're going to the messages resource, we're creating a message, we're setting that message up with a configuration object, with a body, with a to field, and you put your own phone number in here, and then from our Twilio phone number, and then this is where we do the stuff we want to do after we send the message. So after we send the message, I'm going to do some console logging, and what I've got in here is message SID. SID is the identifier. Just as we have an account SID that identifies our account, message SID identifies the message. And then because we're doing all of this in a HTTP endpoint, we want to make sure that we send a response so that our browser isn't left hanging. So we're going to do res.send, and then in this you can do whatever you want. This is what you're going to show on the web page. So I'm going to do the same thing that I just did, and just put the message SID in here again. Okay. So I'm going to run this code. So my app is now running at localhost 3000. let's go pay it a visit. So I did this on the get endpoint. So I'll go to the get endpoint. Oh wait, sorry, I didn't do it on the get endpoint. I did it on the text endpoint. It's a get request to a text endpoint. And you see message sent, and then that's the message Sid, and hopefully, I don't know if I can show this, I get a message on my phone. Hello, local hack day. Oh, sorry, let me line that up. There you go. So I got that text message from my Twilio number straight to my phone. So hopefully, if you've been able to run your server, so either run it here, or if it's running it, or click the run button and REPL it, it will then be up to localhost 3000, and you can then go to the text endpoint and receive this SMS that you set up. Has anyone managed to do that? Anyone managed to get an SMS? Oh, sorry. What's going on over there? Yes, people have got SMSs. Awesome. Okay, so that's all well and good, but I want to start getting SMSs from you folks. And so that's sending an SMS. That's what we call outgoing SMS. Incoming SMS, we're going to have to go back to the console. Yeah, no problem, the code's up there. So incoming SMS, we're going to have to go back to the console, and we're going to have to do something a little bit different. So I showed you a diagram earlier, and I'll show that diagram. Dexter asked for initialization of client. Let me zoom out a little bit. Okay, so here's pretty much all of the code we've written thus far. So I'll leave that on the screen for a little bit while I explain this next section. Sorry, there we go. That's all of the code we've written thus far. Hopefully people can catch up from that. I'll leave it up there for a couple of minutes. So earlier on I showed you a diagram which showed us sending an SMS from our phones, that SMS being received by Twilio, and then Twilio hitting our server. What we've just done is a different version of the process where we have sent a request from our server to Twilio, and Twilio has then sent the SMS to our phones. To go the other direction, we need to create the link between Twilio and our server. And that's what's called a webhook. A webhook is just a fancy name for a HTTP request, as all of this is. It's all just HTTP requests. But it's a HTTP request usually sent in response to something, as an event, for example, sent to a server. So what we're going to do is we're going to configure a webhook against our number that Twilio will then call. This is where things are going to get a little bit tricky, primarily because right now, if you're running this server on your local machine, it's not going to be exposed to the internet. So we're going to need to expose this server to the internet. There are a variety of ways of doing that. You can host it on something like Heroku or Azure or AWS, for example. If you're using REPL it, it's already hosted. You can use the REPL it URL. Alternatively, what you could do is use something called ngrok. So I'm going to close the code. Is everyone in the chat ready for me to move on from this code screenshot? Give me some yeses in chat, please, if you're ready for me to move on from this code screenshot. Move on. Perfect. Thank you, Dexter. Zexel needs 30 seconds. Give Zexel the 30 seconds. I imagine the stream delay between me speaking and me getting your reply is about 30 seconds. So, cool. Okay, plowing on. So, ngrok is a really cool little tool. There is a free version and a pro version. You'll need the free version. ngrok is a really cool little tool where you basically, it's called tunneling. So it will create a tunnel to a local host that we can have over a URL. Actually says they've used it before. So if you haven't used ngrok before, come grab it from the website. It's super easy to set up. All you need to do is do pretty much what's in the screenshot here. Download it and then do ngrok http 3000. So http is how we want this to be accessible. 3000 is the port, and then it will give you a forwarding URL. So to show you that on an example, here's a little terminal. Let me make this bigger. Oh my god. Windows, why are you doing this to me? Okay, little terminal. Just ngrok HTTP. I'm not going to do 3000, I'm going to do 30 because I've already got one running on 3000. And use... I've already got a thing active. Sorry, I'm going to have to shut that down. There we go. So I've done it for 3000, and you see it gives me this URL here, and this URL will now point to the same as localhost. So localhost 3000 text is now the same as this URL text. So I can now use this to access my website on the internet, which we will need for Twilio. So go ahead and get, Axu says bypass the firewall for a bit. Actually, you could do that. You'll need to know your external IP. I wouldn't recommend it. But if you're, people are hitting my server. Let me give that a refresh because you're all going to start sending text to my phone. There we go. So get yourself set up with a URL, either using ngrok, or if you're on Replit, you can click run, and then you'll get a URL. Let me click run and show that. Oh, there's an error in the code here for some reason. Why is there an error in the code here? Oh, because I'm using stuff that's not imported. But yeah, you can click run, and then you'll get the URL here. And then what we can do is we're going to go back to our Twilio console. Where did I leave mine? Sorry, folks, a bit disorganized. There we go. We're going to go back to our Twilio console, and we're going to go to the number that we set up, and we're going to go to manage numbers, active numbers. You're going to find the number you set up, and you're going to scroll down to where you see messaging. So you're going to pass a couple of things. You're going to pass voice and fax, messaging, and then under messaging, you'll see that we've got this thing here that says a message comes in webhook. That's exactly what we want. When a message comes in, we want to send a webhook. And so in here is where you post your ngrok URL. So, or the URL to your public website. If you've thrown it up on Heroku, it's the Heroku URL, it's your ngrok URL, it's your Azure URL, whatever URL you can access from the internet, this is where you put that. Sorry, let me open something up again. Cool. So you put it in here and you leave it as HTTP post. So I'm going to move that off screen for a moment while I save it, because I don't want to expose my URL to you, because y'all have already shown that you want to spam me. Okay, cool. So once you've got that in there, so actually there's one thing I need to do. Sorry, excuse me. Sorry, 1 second. I already did this. Did I already do this? Bear with me 1 minute. I've broken something. I'm pretty sure I have this set. Server. Export, Twilio. Yeah, I did already set this, didn't I? Cool. Hey Adam. Prabhat says it shows me a different page for active numbers. If you are seeing a different page, that will be because we recently released a new console experience, and you might be on the old console. Don't worry about it. It's just a different style of page. You should be able to get to the same information. It's just the nav might look a little bit different. You'll probably see a thing along the top. Oh, Dexter, have you added this endpoint on your Replit? You need to make sure you add the /text endpoint. Nishant, are you trying to start Node as a super user or with sudo? If it's asking you for password, something is trying to run as root. So something's not quite working out there. Anyway, so I've got to move on, folks, for time. So we want to receive SMS now. So after you've set that webhook in your Twilio console, we're going to set up a new endpoint to receive SMS rather than to send it. So to receive SMS, we're going to be receiving information, which means we're going to be on a post endpoint. So we're going to be using post, so information is going to be posted to us. So the previous endpoint we set up was a get. We're now going to be doing post. So I'm just going to call this incoming because we're receiving incoming SMS, and so that makes sense to me. And I'm going to do the same thing I did before, where I'm going to set up a function that has a response and a request. And then we'll save that. So this incoming SMS, we are going to be doing a couple of things here. So we're going to be getting a message sent to us, sent to our Twilio number. Twilio is going to send a webhook to our server, and that webhook is what is hitting post. So the information sent to us by Twilio is going to live in the request body. So we can, for example, see all of the information that we've received with console.log request.body, request.body, but then we can see the body of the SMS with body. So I'm just going to do that just to demonstrate. Let me do res.send. So let's give that a go just to make sure this works. Oh wait, that's not how this works. So I'll message my Twilio number to make sure that that's all coming in okay. Let me, I actually don't have this Twilio number saved. Let me grab this number. Okay. So it's going to be +1 218 402 6652. Drop that a test. Prabat, you don't need to use ngrok for replit. Replit will give you a URL anyway. Where's my SMS? Well, this is helpful. I might have to change to a different number. I don't think I myself can text this. It can text American numbers. Monitor. Is that now? That's now. Sorry, folks, I'm having a weird error. Give me a sec. Let me work out what's causing this. Oh, I know what's causing it. Sorry. I am silly. So earlier, I told you to... there we go. I told you to set up a webhook with your phone number. I forgot to put the root on it. So make sure that you stick the root on the end of your webhook, on the end of your URL. So you've got your URL from ngrok or replit, put whatever you're naming your root. In my case, I'm calling it incoming. Okay, let's see if I can receive a message now. No, we get a big error. Property body of undefined. Why though? That shouldn't be undefined. Rec.body body. Should be rec.body body. Have I missed something? Welcome to live coding, where even the most basic thing will bite me. Curiouser and curiouser. Anyone else having any luck? Okay, I'm just going to post the body. We'll have a look in there, see what we get. If at first you don't succeed, print and print again. Oh, I'm just getting undefined. I'm getting res.send is not a function. Oh, this should be res.end. That'll be why. Am I... Do I not have URL encoded? I'm a bit bemused, folks. I have no idea why that's happening. It's saying that I can't even get my request body. I'm getting undefined for my request body. Yeah. I'm not entirely sure why I'm getting undefined for my request body. Aditya says, what is coding without any undetectable errors? It's a very good question. Apparently I didn't save. I'm also getting... What have I messed up here? Oh my god! Oh my god! Forehead. Okay, I'm a fool. I got the order of the parameters mixed up because it's 8 p.m. So I had res and rec. It should be rec and res. You're getting the request and then the response. Sorry, everyone. Don't code after a full day of work. There we go. So now if I text 5, there we go. Test 5. Woo! We got there. A learning experience for everyone involved. Okay, so we are now receiving messages. That is wonderful. We want to send messages back, right? We want to reply to ourselves. So earlier on, we set this thing up, which looks very vague and mysterious. This lets us interact with messaging objects. So we're going to define Twiml as a new instance of that messaging response class. So what is Twiml? You've probably all heard of XML, and if you haven't, you will have at least heard of HTML. These are markup languages that allow you to, send data around in a marked up, structured format. Twiml is Twilio's version of XML. We use it in our APIs, and it allows you to send structured data that interacts with Twilio. So, for example, we have something called response, which is a Twiml tag that lets you encode a response. And within that, for example, you might say, which is a Twiml tag that lets you encode a say. This little class here makes it easier for us to write and use Twiml. So we don't have to write the XML by hand. And as an example of that, we can then use this Twiml that we've defined to do something like twiml.message and then say, hello. So I'm replying to that message. So I can do something like that. And then I need to move this to the end. You need to make sure that this is at the end of your function. And I just realized one thing I also didn't do was send back a OK header. So let me do that. This is important for reasons. Okay. So Aditya said Joe GG. What did I do? Okay, so we are creating this variable Twiml, which allows us to use this Twiml helper to write responses to Twilio, so we don't have to write the XML. So we can write a new message that just says hello. We are now returning XML as a response. So Twilio sends a webhook to our server, and we are returning this message back to Twilio. So we're getting an SMS. Twilio is coming to our server and saying, hey, you've got an SMS. And we're saying, great, let's send a text back. Let's send hello back. So to do that, we then also need to say to the server, hey, that message was received okay. Here's 200 okay, the status type, and we're going to be sending you back some XML. So then in here, this is where we're going to send back that Twiml back to the server. So we're going to do Twiml, and then we're going to send it back as a string because we can't just send XML. So this response is now going to go back to the Twilio server with our message, and so we'll get a reply. So now if I text in, so I'm going to say, hello, local hack day. That's my message. I should get a response. Hey, there we go. We get hello back. So just to recap, incoming is a post endpoint. Anabav asked, we can do this in Python as well. You absolutely can. Just go to I'll show you the docs in a sec. Actually, I'll just do that now while I'm taking this detour. You come to the programmable SMS, Python quick start, and there you go. Everything you need right here. And I'll drop that in chat for you. We've added a new endpoint for post. Unlike our get endpoint, we're not visiting this in the browser. Twilio is sending a request to this. We define Twiml, which is a helper that allows us to write Twiml without having to write XML. We set up a message in reply, and we add a header to it. We set the response header so that the Twilio server knows it's succeeded, and then we send it the message we want to send back. So here is where we have a little bit of fun. And then I want rec.body.body. Okay, so I'm going to share my Twilio number to you all and unleash chaos. Text me, people. Text me which guild you're in. I've dropped my Twilio number in the chat. Drop me some text. So just send what guild you're in. I've only got 5 minutes, so we stalled a little bit on that bug. No, text it, Ankit. Text it to the number. Let's check if I'm getting messages. No one. Oh, outgoing, incoming. There we go. Oh, right, so that's my number. I'm assuming no one has texted it, not because my server is broken. That would be embarrassing. No, we're good. I'm assuming no one has texted it because the majority of people watching are from India and it would be expensive to text. That is fine. So if you text this, you should hopefully get a reply back saying you're in this guild. What we are now going to do is we're going to, in a couple of minutes, just quickly have a look at some ways we can use that data. So if you were to message me, that message log would be part of my Twilio history. So for example, you went to your numbers, you can manage active numbers, and then under this number, you can see the message log. So I can see this outgoing message that I sent earlier on, right? That data lives in the Twilio server. We can access that. We can use that. So for example, I could write a little function called, I don't know, text all numbers to work with that. So in this case, say I wanted to, actually I'm not going to do that. Yeah, let's just get all messages. I don't want to, it will only be me receiving it, so there's no point me texting it. So I could write a little thing to get all the numbers, and we can just do that again through the Twilio helper. So we can, for example, this will need to be an async function. We can do async client.messages.list, and then this will have a config object just as before. And this config object takes the search criteria that we want to go for. So this request here says, hey, go to my Twilio client, go to the messages resource and list all of the messages I've received. And then I can pare that down to, for example, I just want the messages that have gone to my Twilio phone number. And I just want to see, for example, messages within a certain time span. So I'm going to leave it on that amount. Oh, text but no response received. That's worrying, Nishant. Maybe I did get some replies. Ah, there we go. Look, we got DSC Mate and Blaha Gang. Nice. Awesome. How many of those did I get in? 2. Rad. So I can go and fetch those messages. And then we can start to do some fun things, right? So I know, for example, that I've had those 2 messages. I could look for just people who are in the Blaha Gang. So this messages object will include a body, which will be the message body. So then I could do, for example, we could have const blaha and say messages.filter where message.body is equal to blaha gang. That's correct. And then that should be just one number. And then I can do the same thing I did earlier, and I can send a text to this number. So I can go client.messages.create, and I could say this is to Blahaj 0.2, and I can set the body as congratulations on being in an awesome guild, and I can set the from as my Twilio phone number. And then I can do a .then on this. Yes. To do console.log. That needs to be message. Console.log message.sid. Sorry, I will explain this once I finish thinking. Okay. Ooh, app crashed. What have I done? I assume I've missed a bracket somewhere. Didn't close that. That would do it. Perfect. So, what we're doing here. So, a bunch of you have texted me. I'm going to grab all of those messages. I'm going to filter by the ones to my phone. That will filter out the ones that I have sent. Then I'm going to go through all the messages I've received, and I'm going to check whether any of those people are in the Blaha Gang guild, whether you've sent me in Blaha Gang. Then I'm going to spin up a new message. I'm going to do client.messages, I'm going to create that message, and I'm going to send it to the first person in this list of recipients. And I'm going to say, congratulations on being in an awesome guild from my phone number, and I'm going to send it. I actually can do a little bit better than this, but I'm going to do just this because I need to wrap up and free up the stage for the next person. So I'm just going to throw this in at the start of here. What did I even call this? Get all messages. I'm just going to throw this in here, and someone should be receiving an SMS from me. Or an error. Oh, what a struggle. I've undefined. We're getting an undefined. Here we're getting an undefined. I guess nothing came back. Anyway, let me answer your questions. Nishant said, can you explain that super user error and how to solve that? It's difficult for me to debug something like that over Twitch, Nishant, because it's just there's too many things that could possibly be causing that. Which operating system and how have you installed Node.js, Nishant? We might have to take that to the Discord channel. Dexter said, anyone send an SMS that's not enabled to the region? Got you. Okay, so I'm getting SMSs again. So if some of you are not able to send to my number, it's probably because I haven't enabled all of the regions on it. Sorry about that. I've learned a lot about receiving messages from India in this call. I'm on macOS, Prabhat. Okay, so I do have to wrap up there. I am sorry for the error that sidetracked us a little bit. I am going to... There's a couple of things that I'm going to work out and answer for y'all in the Discord chat. We're going to talk about how to get promo credit for the folks who already had a Twilio account and so can't use our promo link to create a new account. We're going to talk about how to set up an Indian Twilio number, and Nishant and anyone else who wasn't able to get Node.js or the example running for any reason, come drop into the Discord chat and we'll get that sorted for you. Otherwise, thank you for being here for my little example of using Twilio. I hope it's been useful. I want to show you a couple of further resources to take away so you can continue to explore. I will be here throughout the week, and I will be probably doing some live coding. I'm actually going to be live coding on the Twilio Quest channel tomorrow. But in the meantime, if you want to follow along, or if you want to keep playing with Twilio and experimenting with Twilio, dive into the docs, which are right here. You should check out Twilio Quest if you have not done already. Twilio Quest is an awesome educational game for learning to code. If it will load. Okay. It's an educational game for learning to code. Twilio Quest is what I work on most of the time. Oh, that's not the right one. There we go. Twilio Quest is an educational game for learning to code. You can learn JavaScript, you can learn Python, and you can also learn a bunch about Twilio through this. So if you want a step-by-step tutorial in a fun setting, and you want to learn how to do SMS, you want to learn how to do calls, you want to learn how to do video, all that stuff, download Twilio Quest. It's available on Linux, Mac, and Windows, and you can play through Twilio Quest and do it all within the context of a game with step-by-step steps. There will be, I believe, some challenges throughout the week at Local Hack Day to play Twilio Quest, so give that a go. And if you have any other questions, you can drop in to the Ask Twilio channel in the Discord, and I will be there to help you out. If you have any questions about any of the challenges I can help with, I used to work at GitHub, so I can help with the version control one for the daily challenge today. What else is on today? If you have any questions about any of those challenges, I'm able to help. So that is it from me. The main one today, I think I can help with. Oh, where's it gone? Are we off the daily ones? No, we're not. Have they already rolled over? Oh, they've rolled over. Okay, there we go. A daily challenge today is download Twilio Quest and play the intro mission. You've seen how. You now go to... so I just close that tab. Go to Twilio Quest, download it. That's a daily challenge today. And that will help you get started and learn that stuff. So there you go, twilio.com Quest. Zexel asks, can I post my code on GitHub? Yes, Zexel, I'll get the repo updated. I'll fix the problem I caused and I'll get that updated. I actually have a far bigger example, which I might update it with instead, from my far more successful practice run earlier. I'll update it with that. Okay, wonderful. Thank you, everyone. I will see you all later. I'm hoping someone from MLH is listening and can take me off air, because I don't have the power to, so I'm just going to drop. Bye, everyone.